several people asking me about regression therapy, going back to their past or to their childhood and solve problems. Now, when it comes to traditional hypnosis, there's several types of traditional hypnosis, out of which I particularly like Ericksonian hypnosis much more because it's very permissive, Ericksonian hypnosis. But today I want to talk about alchemical hypnosis, more specific regression, because the amount of success that I have with a regression alchemical hypnosis is unsurpassable. And what the difference between them is that in traditional hypnosis, when regression is approached, um, it's used by the therapist to go back to some trauma or events that were emotionally charged, um, that were repressed or forgotten, but events that still have a significant impact on your thoughts, feelings, behavior, or a lack of success. Oftentimes, when we go through highly emotionally charged events, they don't have to be necessarily physical trauma, but they can be highly emotionally charged experience that can leave a significant imprint that keep us from achieving that which we want to achieve. And in typical regression therapy, a therapist will take the client through such um, highly emotionally charged experiences, which can be past trauma, like childhood abuse or neglect. Um, it's very childhood abuse is approached much more than childhood neglect, and childhood neglect is as important to solve as childhood abuse. Or regression is used to resolve issues related to phobia, anxiety, depression, and the goal of traditional regression is to get the client to understand and process that experience, which is possibly buried deep into their subconscious, so they can gain closure and move forward in a positive way. Now, in traditional regression hypnosis, the therapist will take the client into a hypnotic state and uh, go back to a specific memory or a specific period in the client's past, and um, then the client is encouraged to revisit that time, um, and to explore their thoughts, their feelings, and behavior as best as they can, as if they were at a time. And then once the session is over, then the client is it's helped. A therapist helps the client to understand these experiences, and it's helped to process these emotions that are still negatively impacting today's behavior. On the other hand, on the other hand, alchemical hypnosis. Alchemical hypnosis, it's much to some degree, um, there is adds many more elements to it. So once in a hypnotic state and once being regressed to a particular um, past experience that has left a heavy imprint, um, through the alchemical hypnosis, I am helping clients find their inner healing. Um, it's a very powerful modality. Now, alchemical hypnosis is based on the practices of ancient alchemists. Like we are familiar with alchemy as converting the lead into gold. So in alchemical hypnosis, we're going to convert the lead of the unconscious into the gold of the wisdom and fulfillment, so you can achieve a happier, fulfilling life. So in alchemical hypnosis, we use to access powerful internal resources and the guides within your subconscious mind to affect lasting change. So there's a major difference between traditional regression hypnotherapy and alchemical hypnosis, which uses regression, where in the alchemical hypnosis, I guide you to go to a place where your subconscious is ready to go. Because if the whole experience is made out of different parts, and you might be ready to access just a portion of that experience, or you might think that a bigger event has impacted you more than a smaller event, for example, neglect. And actually, you might be more affected by, let's say, an experience of neglect in childhood than an experience of bad criticism in teenage life. So the subconscious knows what it needs to clear and what it's ready to clear. And what happens in alchemical hypnosis, once we arrive to that highly emotionally charged experience, then I take you to a process of alchemy, a process of transformation, because the subconscious works in patterns, and it works in images and patterns. Subconscious doesn't work with words. There is no linearity in it, and oftentimes during this process, you might go through a bunch of movies that might be related and unrelated, and this is exactly how the subconscious works. And these images have significance, but they are significant to you. So once I sit with you and I ask you a little bit, not too much, I ask you a little bit of your growing up, a little bit of your difficulties, of your struggles, of what do you think it was difficult for you, where were you not treated well, or if there was abuse, we go a little bit over that, not in great detail. There is no need to discuss that at the cognitive level in great detail. I mean, that's what psychotherapy does, that, right? So once I have an idea of where the boo is, right, then once your subconscious begins to reveal through images, then I guide you into doing something with specific images, which does not make linear sense. When you transform those images during the in this hypnotic state, you are fully aware of what's happening. It's just you're very focused into working, doing the alchemy, doing the transformation, and when you have your subconscious transform those images that are a representative of a highly charged emotional experience from the past, you actually gain closure without needing to have closure with that particular person face to face, or with a particular group of people. It's such a wonderful modality, and it's powerful, and it's interesting how it happens, but subconscious is large, and the subconscious knows what needs to be done, and the subconscious number one job is to keep you safe, and the subconscious will not take you into places where you are not safe. And if your past experience was highly emotionally charged with fear and anxiety, um, during the hypnotic state, you are not going to re-experience that. You're going to have some sensation and some feelings, maybe some sensations of heaviness, for example, or sensation of warmth or warm temperature or cold temperature, but that's about it, not more than that, because you are highly relaxed and because I guide you. And if you get uncomfortable at any time, or I'm watching your idiomotor responses, so if your idiomotor responses are telling me that it's time to stop, then I'm taking you out, right? And it's a very, very powerful healing modality. Okay, but let's go back to alchemical hypnosis. So the alchemical hypnotherapy is a very dynamic process, and it embraces your emotional and spiritual nature altogether, um, unlike traditional hypnosis therapy. Um, Ericksonian, Ericksonian hypnotherapy um, has many alchemical aspects to it because it's very permissive. And with Ericksonian hypnosis, you are not told what to do. You are given not options, but kind of options. So then you choose what your subconscious will choose, what is the best approach for you in a way that's good for you. In alchemical hypnosis, we have several elements like the inner child and the higher self, spiritual guides. We get to access all of this: the inner child, the higher self, the spiritual guides. Then we do alchemical regression. I just talked about it earlier, where we go and transform and relieve the subconscious of that heavy burden, and all of a sudden you're free of. Yeah, you have more calm and more lightness in your body, more clarity in your mind. That's so good. And then there's alchemical past life regression. We don't just go look into the past life to see what's there and then we talk about it, what might it mean. We go into the past life and we actually go to heal those things. And my kitty cat is a bit vocal, yeah. And then we have alchemical talent retrieval. This is a wonderful process. Not a lot of people are doing, but it's such a wonderful process. It might take up to an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours. There is no linear way to go about it. And sometimes I've done a talent retrieval, and back then I wasn't quite sure of what talent I retrieved. I kind of knew what I wanted to retrieve. It didn't work that way. So what I retrieved was, of course, being being a healer and through alchemical hypnosis. So this is a talent that I retrieve that it works very well. I'm very gifted with it, and I bring a lot of healing to a lot of people through this. And further then we have different things that we can do with this alchemical hypnosis, and we can heal past life trauma. So when we go about healing the past life trauma, like I discussed earlier, past life regression with alchemical transformation, through this hypnosis guidance, we allow your subconscious to take you to a past life traumatic memory in the present moment with hypnosis guide where you are completely relaxed and you are aware of that this is a conversation happening here. And then we go through a very gentle catharsis where you release and you release this from the level of your subconscious, not just cognitive level. Cognitive level, it's good, but if you release from the level of subconscious, then it's gone, right? And then we can also heal the what's called karmic transgression, yeah, because there are times, whether in past life or whether in current life, there are times when we have done bad things to other. We have behaved badly and we have hurt other people. And through this process of healing this karmic transgression, we get to heal this chronic problems that might be resulting in a lifetime of issues. And some of this might be due to current illness or current relationship illness or financial difficulties. And when we get to clear this at the subconscious level, miracles begin to occur. And then, of course, you get the cognitive understanding of that. And there is such a wholesome approach to this, because when you get the cognitive understanding of that too, you realize that you hurt other people, or maybe you over criticize other people due to certain experiences that you either had in the past or you are currently experiencing, like illness or relationship or financial issues, that once you become aware of that, you just go, you are taken, then cognitively you are taken into a choice mode, so you can choose how to adjust your behavior so you don't continue to hurt other people. Karmic transgression, right? Then we can also go about clearing past life relationship contracts. Yeah, that's quite a terminology. So a contract can exist between individual where a promise was made, and we have relationship contracts in current life too, where a promise was made, where the promise was broken, but you received that promise and you longed for it so badly, and because the promise wasn't fulfilled, a hole was created within, and that continues to impact you greatly. And so when we go about clearing this relationship contracts, we look at how this contract can be transformed. Because any hole can be filled, so we're going to fill that hole with positivity and with nurturing, and there are so many ways that we can nurture, right? Then we have clearing and changing the preconception contracts. There are contracts that have been made in past life before you were born. This is a large topic of discussion, very interesting and very powerful. And we get to explore the process of regression again, and it's a longer session. Again, we can explore some unique conditions. Your subconscious will know where to go and what to find through my guidance, because I know how to guide you. So we're going to look for unique conditions that were created for this birth, this life, current life birth, and we can even learn how to change recurring patterns such as suffering or lack of purpose in life, or we can go even further than that and look at other experiences and other patterns that have the look of a contract. Yeah, something that you might have agreed to but never delivered, or something that you were promised in exchange for something that hasn't been delivered to you, but taken this before conception. Very interesting topic, and it's fascinating how the subconscious works at this level. Um, and no, we don't go to measure in how many years back you went, because the subconscious doesn't work like that. Um, and then I talked about the talents. Oh, there's such a wonderful alchemical modality, alchemical hypnosis regression modality. And then we have inner voices, which is something you can think of um, as parts therapy or gestalt therapy. And because we all have different inner voices that guides us, and sometimes we have a lot of voices that constantly criticize us. They're just inner voices that are continual criticism and a continual a bully and a continual voice that tells you you're not good enough, you're not doing it right, it should be done this way and not this way. Oftentimes we were told what's not right and what we're doing wrong by our parent, by our siblings, by our teachers, by our minister, and then later on at work by our bosses, by our how many bosses we have, um, uh, then by our lovers and close friends. So there are a lot of voices that go on inside within us. It's not just in your head. It's not just in your head. It's more over here, and we can access this and see which voices are appropriate, and which of these voices create a conference call. You get a Zoom call, a meeting together that create all of these obstacles for you. So then we can have these voices. It's more like messages. It's not like voices. No, then we can have this recurring patterns, usually criticism. Have a dialogue with one another. In Gestalt therapy, you can have one at a time, but sometimes in this alchemical hypnosis, you can have uh, you can have more than one at a time. It's wondrous how the subconscious works, and then once this is done, we gain a new strength, and then we can get to better understand these roles without losing um, the not the gift, but all of this. Um, they have a purpose, and in my positive psychology coaching, I have a course already made, transforming the inner critic into the inner coach. So just like that with alchemical hypnosis, when we do inner voices, we transform these critical voices and voices that tell you you're not good enough, um, low self-esteem and not good enough, things like that, and we transform it into a guide that can nurture you, not constantly criticize you. We have enough criticism in life. And then, of course, there is somatic healing, right? So, in the next presentation, I'm going to talk about somatic healing. So, stay tuned.